Welcome to the Real with Joseph Latman. Welcome back, actually, to the Real with Joseph Latman. I put out one yesterday, my last episode. Today is a part two from yesterday's conversation. So, first of all, happy Friday. Hope you guys are having a good end of your week. Good to see you again the next day. And yeah, hope you guys are having a good week. Hope you guys are getting excited for the weekend. Got football. No Ohio State this weekend, but big game. I'm looking forward to. Actually, everybody is Alabama, Tennessee, and then hopefully the Browns can bounce back on Sunday. But I don't know. I'm not even want to think about that. But that's not why we're here today. So yesterday I talked about my topic was projecting the past to the future, and I did a whole almost hour-long show. I played a video from the Anxiety Guy that really was goes along with it, where he basically almost like what I was trying to explain yesterday was, do you remember I put this photo up yesterday? Am I moving towards truth or running from fear? That's what the question was in the photo, right here on the screen, as you can see. And I presented that question to you guys to ask yourself. So I have to ask myself, am I moving towards truth or am I running from fear? And so I'm sitting here today and I see my man Dennis put out his latest podcast episode. And of course, I listen to all of them, so I listened to it. And I was out earlier this morning, listening to it down by the water where I live. I live on water, so I'm out there just chilling and relaxing and listening to this podcast. And then this podcast was incredible, and the more I'm listening to it, I'm like, hey man, this is a perfect kind of like part two to what I was talking about yesterday. And why I say that it's part two is because yesterday was more of, like I said, asking yourself the question, like on the screen, am I moving towards truth or running from fear? Yesterday was more of like, okay, let's be honest with ourselves, like look in the mirror and let's just give an outer view of where we are, be honest with ourselves. So today is like this next step. That's why it's called part two, the next step beyond that. Now let's really look deep. Now let's really look at, okay, what habits, what things am I doing in my life continuously? What things am I doing in excess? And that's the title of that was the topic of Dennis's podcast, was how doing too much. Basically, he uses the word is excess keeping your anxiety alive. And so, as you can see right here, if I put it on the screen, title of the video is excess keeping your anxiety alive. And so, a lot of what I talked about yesterday about projecting the past to your future, how you stay stuck in the past and you stay stuck in old beliefs, core beliefs and habits, how they continually replay in your future, and how they continually, it's almost like automatic. Like sometimes we're not even aware of the things we're doing. I know I wasn't for a while, and there's still some things in my life I figured out recently. And that's why, guys, I share where I'm at, because I want to relate to you guys. We can all get through this together. And so, hopefully me putting myself out there and where I'm at right now can help you guys. Maybe we're in the same place. Maybe where I was 3 months ago. I don't know. We can all get through this together though. And so, but the first step is being honest with yourself. That's what yesterday's show was really about. Where am I really at? Okay. Now that you have your answer, and you really, you never really have a full answer right away. I think once you have your answer, really think about it. Like, get a pen and a paper and take some days, pray about it, really write down and really open up about it. Like, really dive deep into where you are. And so that's what today's part two is more about. Okay, yes, I'm running for fear in a lot of things in my life. I would like to have less anxiety, or I'd like to have, more peace in my life. There's a lot of things in my life I would like to change. Now what do? I know what I need. I'm honest with myself that, like I said, when I put the photo on the screen, if you answered the question, yes, I am running for fear from a lot of things, like we explained yesterday. Now I want to change it. How do I change it? Well, I think the next step, and yesterday I actually gave a lot of great tools for that. In the video I showed yesterday, he talked about reframing, journaling, how to respond differently, just all kinds of tools he gave yesterday in that video. I explained a lot of things, and I explained a lot of things in my show. On this podcast in recent episodes, go back and look at some of my titles. you'll see a lot of things that can help you. And so, and within a lot of those episodes are more like anxiety guy shows where I have my man Mike on or Pies on. Even when my buddy Zach came on, he talked about his journey, what helped him, to just keep going. And so, it was more of a mindset. So that's what today's going to be, part 2. It's more of diving deeper, and really, he's going to explain a lot of things today. His podcast. This is an audio, so you're not going to see him on the screen. So you really got to really listen and pay attention. If you want to put your earbuds in, maybe go do something while you're listening to this. As long as you're listening to this, really keep your ears up, because like I say, he's not on the screen. I know it's different sometimes when you listen to audio, but really listen to what he's saying, because he's going to give a lot of different examples of what he sees, and I agree with all of them. And things I see as well, and things I've actually have to be honest with myself about. He's going to talk about, how people will overly do things and keep themselves super busy. It's almost like they're just trying to distract themselves. And I kind of hit on that yesterday a little bit. He'll talk about that. He'll talk about constantly seeking reassurance, constantly going on social media and scrolling, constantly trying to find the answer to something, right? That's something I've had to work through. Especially when you put yourself out there and sometimes you don't get answers to things, or there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of, the unknown could be very challenging, because you don't know what could be what someone's thinking. You don't know what's going on, what's happening in your life. You don't know, where you're going to end up. It's a lot of things, a lot of unknown questions. But again, that's where, number one, the spirit has to come into play, and trusting in God, but also, have a good structure in place and realize what's healthy for you and what's not good for you. What are some things I'm doing that's prolonging my feeling, and what are some things that, maybe I need to do more of for myself, to take care of myself, so I can continually stay in this process, stay in this waiting game, stay in this journey I'm on, and eventually I'll get to where I'm getting to. But I can make it easier in between. I can actually get, a lot of times, you can get the things a lot faster than you thought. And so, things are just sitting right in front of you sometimes. Just takes a couple steps and a couple moments, a couple wins to really propel you over the top. And so, I'm going to get to this video, and let me get it on the screen here. So again, the title of this, go subscribe. Number one, go subscribe to Man the Anxiety Guy if you haven't already. Links down below. Link for this video will also be in the description below if you want to rewatch it again, re-listen to it rather. So again, is excess keeping your anxiety alive? And so, like I said earlier, what he means by excess, and he'll explain it, is, are we constantly trying to run from? It's basically what I said yesterday. Are we running from fear? Yes, this is what excess is a lot of times, trying to overdo things. We feel like we have to force things. We feel like we have to do all these things. A lot of what I talked about yesterday. But he's going to really dive deeper into this today. Kind of some things maybe really be more brutally honest with yourself, like I said. And so I'm just going to be quiet and get to the video. I'll be in the back, off to the side here. And I'll chime in every once in a while when I hear something. But yeah, without further ado, let's get to it.
Friends, welcome to episode number 365 of the Anxiety Guy podcast. I'm Dennis Simsek, and this podcast episode is brought to you by my newest book, The Essential Guide to Health Anxiety. If you're going through health anxiety or know somebody who's going through health anxiety, this is the book. I've poured my heart and soul into it, and I cannot wait for you to get your hands on it through Amazon, The Essential Guide to Health Anxiety. Warriors, in today's podcast episode, we are going to discuss excess. Now, at a subtle level, we all feel like we're doing something that we don't want to give up in order to get something that we really never have had. And we're going to discuss some of the different aspects where excess comes into play, which keeps us from not only healing anxiety, but developing ourselves into what we are now familiar with as the higher self. Okay? You'll hear me use the words higher self quite often because the higher self is a place of truth, truth behind who you are and what the world is really like.
Now, pay attention here to start off. You notice what he just said. Truth. Your higher self is truth. So again, like I said yesterday, am I moving towards truth or am I running from fear? Like he said, now that we know we're aware of where we are, for like, and again, if you haven't watched yesterday's show, go watch that one first, then come back to this one. I probably said that earlier, but I'll link that. I'll link that one below from yesterday. Go watch yesterday's show first, and then come back and watch this one after, because it'll go hand in hand. And so, like you said, now that we know where we are, we know what the higher self is. The higher self is that's your true self. So, like for instance, for me, I'll give an example. There was a lot of times where I had moments where my health anxiety I was having a bad panic attack, right? And maybe some of you guys relate to this. You know, deep down inside, you're fine. A lot of times, you know, like okay, I'll be okay. I feel horrible right now. I just want this to stop. I want it to stop. So a lot of times we allow the emotions and the fear to kind of overtake us, and we want to just get out of environment. I got to get out of here. Like for me, it was always escape. If I was out away from my home or home alone, I needed somebody with me, or I had to get away from the environment and get the hell home. Like I just got to get out of here. I want it to stop. I know what it is, but I want it to stop. I just don't want to feel it. But a lot of times, that party when you get home afterwards, and like I did a lot of times, you sit back and you think, "Gee, I'd have been okay." Because then you get home, you calm down, you're fine, and everything's okay. And you're kind of like, "Well, hell, I could have did this back then, at where I was, or whatever the situation I was in. I didn't have to run home. I didn't have to do all these things. This is all it was. It's just a simple. It was a false alarm. That's what anxiety is. It's a false alarm, right? I know I've gone to the doctor. They told me I'm healthy. I studied anxiety. I know what the symptoms are. I know what all this is. And so that's your higher self speaking. It's kind of like, man, I can go do these things, even if I have to temporarily go through this period where I have to experience these things. I'm making a new relationship, and I'm working through these things, trying to make a healthy relationship with these symptoms and understanding myself more at a deeper level to move towards healing and towards inner peace. But a lot of that's your true self. That's your higher thinking. Another example of your higher thinking could be, uh, maybe you're invited to go somewhere, or maybe there's something you've been putting off for a long time. And deep down, I did this with this podcast. I've done it with other things, with people, with a lot of things, and we all could relate to this. You keep putting things off in your life, and the more you put things off in your life, you need to do them. You know it would help you. You would. There's things that you desire, you really want to do that would make you happy, or things that you were intrigued by, but you keep putting it off, and you keep stuffing it to the side because there's fear involved in it. You're letting the fear overrule your higher thinking. But your higher thinking, so your higher self, your true self, what you really want deep down inside says, no, I want to do this. Like, I want to talk to that person. I want to, whatever it is, I want to take this opportunity to do whatever. I want to act in a different way. I want to speak in a different way. I want to look in a different way. I want to be who I know I'm capable of being, right? I want to be I want to be the person God made me to be, how he views me. That's how I want to view myself. It's so, I know I'm saying a mouthful here, but this is very important because that's why he made it very clear there at the beginning of of his podcast here. Be aware of your higher thinking, and really keep your true as you're listening to the rest of this podcast. Keep that in mind. And a lot of things he's going to give a lot of examples of, like I said, of bad habits or maybe things that are keeping your anxiety alive. So really, it's like okay, when he gives an example, when he talks about, let's say, social media later on, do I spend too much time? What am I trying to seek on social media? Okay, now flip the opposite side of that. What does my higher self think about this? What does my true self really want from this? What do I really want? And was what I'm doing helping? That's how you got to ask yourself these questions as you're going along. What would my what would my true self do here? And that could be in any situation throughout the day, anything. And that's a slow exercise. That's a slow reprogramming almost. You're like retraining yourself to where your true self becomes your automatic thinking, not your old irrational thinking, your fearful thinking, your subconscious thinking, your inner child thinking. No, no, no. Your true self, your warrior side of you, the real part, the real you. That's who's going to be dominating your thinking from now on. That's how you make your decisions. And most important, it's connected to God. And so you're really letting Him lead the way as well. And so, which is most important. But I know I said a mouthful there. I hope that helped you guys, but let's get back to it.
When you live your life through your higher self, there is no fear. At least, there is no irrational fear. Yes, there's a part of your brain that's always looking out for the next potential threat and warns you through certain sensations and symptoms temporarily, keyword temporarily, if in fact it detects something that may be threatening to your life. But these false alarms no longer exist when you live through your higher self. And in order to live through your higher self, we have to stop engaging and indulging in excess. Excess in the amount of information that you consume in regards to your healing and development. Warriors, you have to understand that information coming from the outside is fine. But the thing that's really going to heal you is the wisdom that comes from the inside. Okay? So when we are
Remember that. Pay attention to what he just said. What he's saying is it's coming from within, not from outside. And a lot of people, they try to suppress and they try to heal themselves through external things. Well, if I live in this environment, or if I, if I go out and do these things, and I'm not saying those things are bad. Those can be good things, but it always starts within. Because when you make that the external things more of a priority than inside of you, and you really just try to stuff the inside of you away and try to deal with it, you're never going to reach true inner peace. You're never going to reach the true happiness and true fulfillment that you want, because you never address the core. It's like trying to build a house without putting the foundation down first. The house will collapse. Yeah, you can put some things up that'll hold it up for a while, but eventually it's going to come down when you leave it alone and you try to just let it go. And so you have to start within, and just keep that in mind. What he just said there, internal, not external.
excessively looking for the answers from the outside, other people, videos, podcasts, books, whatever it may be, if we're always consumed by this excess or this need to find out something that we need to find out, then we're never going to be able to hear the wisdom that comes from the inside that will lead us to true clarity and true healing. Information is good. Wisdom is better. Excess in the implementation of solutions that you feel will contribute to your healing and development, like listening to affirmations, trauma reframing work, meditation work, etc. These acts call on you to do them when needed. You do not force them upon yourself in a forceful manner so that a result gets achieved. Notice the difference. This forcefulness is what we know very well now as having the approach of doership. When we talk about doership, we must understand, and I've mentioned this before, that the person or the identity that brought you into a state of anxiety cannot heal from anxiety. You have to approach this healing journey from a completely different standpoint, from a completely different identity and perspective, in order for true healing to show up, because too many people in today's world feel like they're healed when in fact they're just suppressing the very things that they've been afraid of all their lives. This suppression shows up later on in life as suffering in another form. In order to truly heal, we have to understand that when you implement certain skill sets and solutions, whether it be EFT, EMDR, affirmations, trauma reframing work, meditation, grounding work, journaling work, whatever it is that will contribute to the development of you, we have to make sure that we don't force upon a result. You're not doing these things to gain a specific result. You're doing
Woo! Man. I need to rewind that. You need to hear that again. Pay attention to what he just said.
whatever it is that will contribute to the development of you, we have to make sure that we don't force upon a result.
Don't force upon a result. I see this so much, and this used to be me. Okay, up until this past year, and I really became more aware of this within the last year when I started his program. It just, uh, like I said, yeah, I've realized this more in the last year. This is what I used to do a whole lot. I would always try to push myself to the absolute limits, physically, mentally, emotionally, even spirit, and just drain myself. And I would just constantly look, and it's people do this all the time in life. Forget anxiety. This isn't life right here. People constantly are constantly searching, searching for the right time, searching for the right person, searching for the right opportunity, searching for what they crave on the inside, searching, and people will go to the absolute with ends and drive themselves crazy till they obtain it. And a lot of times, number one, like we talked about yesterday, the standards that you're using by your criteria and what's driving you is really just bullshit worldly standards. I mean, let's be honest. Just call it like it is. It's social media driving it. It's all the influence in our world that's driving you to force and constantly portray an image, constantly feel the pressure, constantly feel like I need to be accepted, constantly feel like, um, you know, am I saying the right things? Am I doing all the right things? And it's based off of, like I just said, what I said yesterday. I'm trying to force a result. But why are you trying to force a result? What are you trying to force into your life? Are you allowing things to come in your life? Are you allowing God to be in the center of it? All right. This is why I used, like yesterday. I use this example a lot because it's a big. Everybody goes through it. It's mostly everybody. Relationships, especially with marriage, or if you're single like me, you know, you can force things and force yourself into relationships. And yes, you have to go out there and test waters and like, you know, find that's how you find. But what I'm getting at here is I think a lot of people are leaving what's most important out of it. They're leaving God out of it. They're allowing these. It's like you look online nowadays, man. Look at these like social media, and everybody has all these standards nowadays, and these standards are based on like, okay, it's like a routine, or it's like a, I don't know how to describe it. It's just kind of weird. It's like when it comes to dating, for like, well, there's like all these different phases. There's all these different. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Then it's gonna be this stage, and it's just like all these and we judge people based off of these what social media says is acceptable, and a lot of times this is what our friends are saying is acceptable, and everything's got to be perfect, and we got to do this, and if it's not the perfect scenario, and if it's not, you know, if it can't be so magical and glamour, and it's just all false reality. Is what I'm getting at. They're portraying a false reality out there through the media, through social, through the music, and it's false, and we believe all this stuff, and we think this stuff's real, and this is how we have to identify things in our life. This shit's not real. Nothing's, and like I said yesterday, not everything's ever going to be perfect because nobody's perfect. We're all flawed. There's never going to be a perfect scenario for anything. I don't need to feel perfect to do something. I don't need to. I mean, do you want to be in the right place? Sure. Do you want to have standards through God? Absolutely. But are you allowing God in the center of it to lead you? Are you letting Him lead the charge and allowing Him to, key word there, allowing, not forcing? Am I allowing Him to lead me? Am I taking the chance when, sometimes God will show you an opportunity, but you look at all the wrong reasons for it. It doesn't feel perfect. Doesn't feel perfect. Doesn't feel, uh, you know, is this will this and all the fear comes into play, and you put it off, or you put that person off, or you put whatever off. But like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be right. And what you need is to look for what's right. What God wants is what's right. You know, are you lining yourself with somebody, for instance, with dating or marriage, whatever it is, or with your job? Am I aligning my career? Am I aligning my overall life with God? Am I aligning myself with truth? Or am I running from fear? Just like I keep saying, the picture. And so, and the question I presented. And so, again, am I right here? Am I moving towards truth or running from fear? You got to ask yourself. It's it's so basic, but it's gets right down to the core of most things, pretty much everything. And so, yeah, man, I love what he said there about not forcing things. I see this is a big issue in our society today, especially here in the U.S., all over the world, but especially in our culture here in the U.S., because we're so influenced, and everybody's just forcing everything. I mean, my gosh, you look at people's like Facebooks and their timelines, and just everything's like a theatrical show. Like it's almost like comical, like in a way, like everybody's got like people will go and do things just to post them online. Think about that. What's really driving them? That's what's driving them. And that's a never ending thing. You'll never get satisfaction from that. It's never going to be good enough. Yeah, you know what all that does? Because then what do we see all the times with trends? One trend goes, here comes another trend. And they just push, or you see this a lot of times with people. And this is one another thing. Everybody wants to be a celebrity nowadays. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to go viral. The hell with being a celebrity? Number one, why would you want to be a celebrity or fame? You have no life. You have no privacy. That's why most celebrities even tell you. Like I heard Shaq the other day. Shaq was on the Impulsive podcast recently, and I saw a clip from it. And he's like, they called him a celebrity. Logan Paul did. And Shaq's like, don't call me the C word. He's like, I don't want to be a celebrity. He's like, celebrities are assholes, or you just and the lifestyle is just not something you envy. Remember in The Last Dance, in this famous clip of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was the man in the 90s, not even just in sports, in all of the world, the global icon. This dude had all the money, all the fame, and he's sitting there at the end. Remember his last year, and he's sitting on the couch in a hotel room smoking a cigar, and he looks at the camera and he goes, "I can't wait to." Basically, he's saying, "I can't wait to retire because this lifestyle is not one you want to envy." That's why you notice when he retired for good, you don't really see Michael Jordan a whole lot anymore, ever, because the guy he didn't want that life anymore. It's not a life, like you said, it's not a life you envy. What you should envy, though, what you should crave for is just being you and just be happy with where you are. Be content with where you are. God has a special plan for everybody. Nobody's greater than anybody. That's something else I heard Shaq say, too. I'm no different than the dude that works at, where you work in fast food or you work your daily job, maybe you work a 9 to 5, whatever you do, whatever I do. We're all the same. Nobody's better than anybody. We all get up. Let's be honest, we all take a shit. We all, brush our teeth. We all do the same things. We eat the same. Nobody's different than anybody. Let's just keep it real. We all do the same things. So no more trying to force something. You don't need to force an image. You don't need to force your healing. You don't need to force uh, anything. I mean, yeah, it's simple as that. You don't need to force anything. Stop trying to, you know, project your life, and you, like I said, you're projecting your past and your future because you're. Where does this fear coming from? It's coming from something in your past. It's coming from something that happened to you, or it's coming from something, a source within. And you know, I think this is why when everything shut down 2 years ago, this is why you're seeing so much more anxiety and depression nowadays because it made people couldn't go and distract themselves anymore. You had to really sit in your house. That's when we all had to sit in our houses for a couple, for a little bit because of what was going on. And I think it drove so many people nuts because all you had was a stupid ass TV, your phone, a lot of people that drove them nuts after a while. So then they just had to really sit and be idle in their mind. And a lot of people didn't like what they were hearing in their own mind. And he'll mention this in this I think coming up. A lot of people, they can't sit in silence. They think silence is bad because they're afraid of what they're hearing in the internal chatter. And so, um, I'm gonna get back to the video. I'm gonna let this play out a little bit because I ranted there for a little while. But I'm saying all these things because it's facts. We got to be honest with ourselves. All these things that we're doing, it's making us live a certain way and force all these things. It's so unnecessary, but it adds to your stress and your anxiety. This is why you will never find the true happiness and fulfillment you want. Or the things that you desire and you seek, what you really want in life, you know, you're never gonna find them. And a lot of times, if you might end up doing the same thing again that let you down last time, projecting your past to the future. Sometimes you gotta let things go and allow God to lead you to what's truth. Allow truth to come in your life and work through truth. Allow truth to work within you. And so, I need to drink of water after that. So I'm just gonna sit back and listen to the rest and play this out a little bit. Really pay attention, guys. Please pay attention to what he's saying. Just if you really want to be, and this is why I say be honest with yourself. If you really want to get better, there's nothing more important you can do than listen to this right now. Really, what's more important? There isn't. No more excuses. No more of the bullshit. Let's be honest with ourselves and let's get to it. And let's starting today. Start right now. It doesn't mean to go jump off a cliff today. Not to jump off a cliff, but go skydiving rather. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. You don't gotta go skydiving today, or I guess you could jump off a cliff. What's that thing they do? They attach your leg to it, and you like jump off a bridge and you fly back up in the air. You could do that. Bungee jumping, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But anyways, I don't know. I'm getting a little off track, but uh, you don't have to do everything in one day. And that's the allowing part, not the forcing. And this is evolved even in your healing and your anxiety. You're gonna want to go and really push and push, but there's a healthy balance there. There's a time and place. And so we've talked a lot about that on this show, about having a consistency in what you're doing. That's the key. And so, yeah, I need a drink of water, and I'm just gonna play the rest of this. All right.
You're not doing these things to gain a specific result. You're doing these things for the sake of deeper clarity that will show up at the right time in your future. That's the difference. If we do these things in excess, we're forcing. If we listen to that subtle voice within us from the higher self that says, hey, it's time to implement X, and we do it in a subtle way, in a gentle way, in a compassionate way, where we're not forcing this skill set to bring us anxiety healing, that is the path to true healing. So it's staying away from doership. Doership in the sense of forcing, doership in the sense of fighting, striving, wanting, needing, right? That feeling, right? Now let's go into excess in regards to how many to-dos you take on in your life because you have a sense that filling up your day is what it's all about, when in fact, you're just simply afraid of what may arise within when you do less. There's so many people out in the world that fill up their to-do lists. Why? Not because they feel overly productive, but the truth is they're running away from something, okay? And filling up their day makes them think that they'll never have to face what it is they really have to face in their lives. From something, okay? And filling up their day makes them think that they'll never have to face what it is they really have to face in their lives. From something, okay? And filling up their day makes them think that they'll never have to face what it is they really have to face in their lives.
Did you hear that? I played it 3 times. I'm gonna play it again. Really, what he just said is so powerful. They don't want to face. They don't want to face what they know they have to face. That's what he's saying. And so this is why I said earlier, people don't want to face up to things. They want to just forget about it, move forward. But you have to make peace with that stuff, guys. Uh, the things that really hold you back, that are causing your anxiety, the pain and the suffering. You have to address these things. They don't just magically disappear. You could do all kinds of coping methods and all kinds of practices and exercises and all that stuff, but that's all. A lot of that stuff's external. It's not internal. You got to start internally. And so, oh man, that was powerful. I hope you guys really pay attention to what he's saying there.
And the truth is that in order to heal and in order to transform ourselves, we must reveal what it is that needs to be revealed in order to heal. That's the truth. So filling up your to-do list will only take you so far, right? You will always have a sense of, well, this isn't the way life should be, right? Excess in regards to how much you feel like you need to speak daily. Not speaking makes you feel like you're disconnected, when in reality, you're only connecting more deeply with your higher self that can be heard the most loudly when you intend to hear it and when you are silent. So it's not about the amount of words that you speak throughout the day that makes you feel connected to other people in this world. True connection comes from silence. True connection comes from speaking up when you feel like there's something valuable to say, something of value that you can bring to the world, right? So you have to understand it's not about the amount of followers you have or amount of likes that you get or the amount of speaking that you do in any conversation with people. Yes, there's a party. You don't have to be the life of the party all the time, right? You don't have to be the life of the party at any time. Because more often than not, the loudest people in those parties are the most desperate ones. Have you ever thought about that? And yes, they're craving that popularity from other people because they're so at a loss on the inside. They're grieving on the inside, right? They're fearful on the inside. So we have to understand that truth.
This is everything I just said earlier. And like I said, people will go and do things just to post on social media. People will go and act a certain way, and they'll put out a fake image online, all based around that, about being accepted, trying to be the most popular, trying to be. Everybody wants to be a celebrity now. Everybody wants to go viral and all this other bullshit. It's because you're craving something. There's something you're missing in your life that's deeper than just, you know, it's beyond social media. It's beyond all this other shit. And so, no, I mean the cuss, but I'm just kidding. Let's be honest, guys. So, again, this is why you got to ask yourself, really look within. Like I keep saying, what is it that I really desire in my life? And is what I'm doing healthier? Is a healthy way of doing it, a natural way? Is it contributing towards natural healing, true inner peace, or is what I'm doing based on this stuff here, like with social media and with just world? Basically, let's just keep it 100. If you're somebody of, especially someone of God, is what I'm doing aligning with God? Is it godly, or is what I'm doing aligning with worldly? Because what's worldly? Worldly doesn't include God. It's never ending, never attainable, false standards. And so, uh, and it's sad, man, because I see so many people that I know that they they hit some adversity in their life, and whether maybe they lose their job, or maybe they start, just things aren't going the way they want. Maybe they get a relationship ends, and they just start doubting themselves, and they start questioning themselves. They don't think they're good enough. They don't think, and I hate this, where a lot of times, where a lot of, not for everybody, but people get in depression, people get in in darker times, where they don't like themselves, and they start doing things that don't contribute. They just take their pain out, and so uh, again, but it all starts within. It all starts with, what are we focusing on? What are we putting energy into? You know, is what I'm doing a line of God? I posted something last week on my Instagram, and it was from, and I could say it today. I won't botch it like I did yesterday. Tony Evans Church, Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, which I could not spit out yesterday. Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship posted something last week, though. And in the post, it was very simple. Return to your first love. Who's your first love? God. It all starts at the core, the foundation. That's really been the theme of my show. That's the theme of all of this. And anything in life, it starts, where do you have to start? Look at our society nowadays. Are we starting where we should? No. We wonder why we have so many problems in our society today. We want to blame it on everything else, and we look to people. We look to we look to things in the world to fix it. And we have people nowadays that say when things happen, they say, "Well, I don't want to hear about prayer anymore." That's what people say now. They say, "I don't want to hear about prayers. Don't tell me about you're going to pray." And I'm like, "Well, hold on, man. That's your issue. That's the issue, the big issue. This is what happens when you leave the main who should be number one. You leave them out. You can keep making all the excuses in the world you want. Everybody out there that's got all these bullshit excuses, but it's facts. Stop with the whine. Stop with the excuses. Stop with all this other crap. You can keep going on and doing all this. It's like you said earlier. All these people are trying to do something. Everybody wants to be important. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to be proven that they were right. It's all about them because there's something, like he said there, that's it's missing on the inside. There's something they have a weakness on the inside, and so they just take it out on everybody else. They blame everybody else, and they just do all these things to subject themselves. They do all this excess things to keep their anxiety alive. And I know I'm kind of going off topic here a little bit, but it all goes together. It's all the same. It's all the same stuff we see. And so I don't know, man. I just be honest with yourself. And if you really want to get where you want to get to deep down inside, if you really want to obtain those goals and those dreams and those aspirations that you have, and you feel like God's most important, you feel like God's leading you in a different direction that maybe nobody else sees, follow it. No matter what. Don't ever give up your hope and don't ever stop following the Lord. Don't ever stop following when the dream and those dreams and those goals. They come from somewhere. And a lot of times those dreams and those goals you have, those things you want to tap into, that's really that's your higher self. That's your true you. And it could be anything, whatever you want to be in life. If you have desire to if you like making paintings, I don't know, make paintings and you like being an artist, if you like whatever it is, has some substance behind it and because if you feel like the Lord's calling you to do it, He's going to give you the gifts and the abilities to do it. That's probably what He's called you to do. Do it. You know, who cares what anybody thinks? Who cares if it doesn't fit in with the world? Who cares if it doesn't fit in with what's acceptable and all this other crap? Forget about all that stuff, man. Where's that going to get you? Nowhere. And it doesn't mean everything's got to be perfect either. And it's just people give up on things way too soon. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and I see a lot of people. Something doesn't go right the first day. Give up. No, I'm done with it. I don't want anything to do with it. You keep that mentality in your life and watch where it gets you. You keep that, and a lot of people now, people my age, are fresh out of college, and they're already very. It's just, and I'm not just people my age, but everybody's just so robotic in everything they do. It's like they're automatic. It's automatic thinking, so negative and so out of fear. There's so many people that are maybe 30, 40 years old at my age right now. By the time they get to 30, 40 years old, they're so worn out from life. They don't have no happiness in their life, and everything they do is just so robotic. It's like you just kind of like just draining yourself. It's so the happiest people I see, or I know people like with Kwame Brown, well, guy I follow, guy I love. I love his page. He's inspired me a lot. May not always agree with everything he says, but you can't take if you watch Kwame Brown on his show, you can't say the guy is in the guy has peace in his life. He's almost 40 years old. He's got the energy of a 23 year old, someone my age. Because Kwame knows if you listen to his messages too, he has a lot of wisdom and he knows what's most important. The dude, he has inner peace in his life. Yeah, they trashed his name for 20 years. He's still here though. And what he's doing now is greater than anything you could ever do on the basketball court. Just saying. Follow your dreams and your goals and your passions. Just be the true you. And so, I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna play the rest of this out. I know, but he's saying so many great things today. I can't help myself, but you know, because I'm really passionate about a lot of these things. I experienced a lot of these things. That's just it needs to be said. And so, hope you're listening and following along. I appreciate you made it this far. I'm gonna play the rest of this out, and then I'll give my closing remarks.
True strength comes from silence. True strength comes from speaking when you're called to speak, doing when you're called to do, these sorts of things. Excess in terms of technology and social media, to have all the latest updates and gadgets and always be scrolling on social media just in case you get left behind or miss something important. When in fact, what you think is important, or at least what your ego or inner child thinks is important, is just a distraction from finding your true self. Okay, this is so, so key. You are not missing out on current events. You are not missing out on certain things when you're not scrolling. You are giving back to yourself. You are loving yourself. You are cherishing yourself. You are grateful for this life experience. So we have to understand that you don't have to have the latest gadget, the latest phone. You don't have to update your status all the time. Okay, your ego slash inner child feels like it has to do this all the time to gain a result, to feel a sense of self-worth and connection. But the truth is, you feel more and more disconnected the more you do it. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I'm getting to a point with my social media where, yes, the algorithms with YouTube and Instagram and such force you to have to put out certain content all the time, right? But the truth is that do you really need all this content all the time? Not necessarily. Is it helping or hindering your progress? So we have to understand, I mean, from my perspective, it's too much, right? It's too much. And there will come a time in my life where I'm just going to go, hey, I'm just going to post once a week because, if you take that content and that information and work on that for a week, it's going to change your life, right? So excess in terms of the information, again, as we spoke about in the beginning, very important to take note of these things. If excess is an inner child or what's commonly known as an ego response, then minimalism in the way of approaching our healing is a higher self, or what I would call the Godhead response. One demands while the other allows. One screams while the other whispers. One is running a program while the other understands that there can be no limits to how we can perceive ourselves and this life experience, my friends. Please pay attention to your excess. And when you do, and when you find that something is a bit off and keeping you from true balance on the inside, do something about it. Not temporarily, but see these changes as complete life changes in your life, no matter what aspect that excess is found, my friends. This is a key podcast episode. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please give it a positive rate and review. I love each and every one of you so very much. Have a wonderful day, and never forget that you are more than anxiety. I love you. Bye-bye.
Uh, yeah, I love what he said at the end. This is such a key episode. What he did, what he posted last night. I mean, or over the night, whatever. But today, his latest one. I don't know. When did he post this? Was it yesterday or today? I can't remember. It was it was today. That's right. He lives in Indonesia, so he's ahead of us in time. But um, regardless of the fact, like he said there at the end, that was so key. That topic he brought up and everything he said there at the end, because that's it. I mean, that's it. That's why I did a part two today from yesterday. These last two episodes I did, uh, I mean, all of them. I keep saying this one's most important, that one's most important, but these last today and yesterday's, uh, I mean, gets right to it, guys. I mean, uh, not much more I could say. Again, you got to be honest with yourself. Like I keep saying, I know I was ranting a lot today, so I'm a little tired right now. But for real, I mean, you know, I'll leave with this. I like what he said there at the end. Uh, When you start doing these change work, remember this. This is something I've had to learn, especially within the last year, even up to recently, even now. When you start doing more things that are vulnerable and you start putting yourself out there more and you start doing a lot of things changing for the better, a party is going to feel a little lost and a little, it's kind of like a death within, to be honest, because an old part of you, that old side of you, the old habits, the old, irrational you, the old fearful you, the anxiety part of you that suit used to put on every day, that isn't your true self, that part of you dies away. And it's like a rebirth. And it's like you said, it's a complete transformation. You're in a transition. And so it may feel like a mourning process, and it's like that's what that gray area comes in. And it's very normal to feel kind of depressed, believe it or not. And it's okay. It's not a bad thing. When you feel kind of depressed or kind of lost, when you're doing all this change work and you're changing your life and you're going through this healing journey, because you're recreating yourself in a way. It doesn't mean everything in your life's just exile. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like it just shows you how much stuff we do in our society, how much stuff we all think is healthy and normal, really isn't. And when we finally stop it and address it and change it, it feels so like we feel kind of lost because we're so used and accustomed to doing it. We see everybody else doing it still. But again, this is where you have to take the leap of faith, because you got to focus on what's most important. Like I said earlier, you have to focus on what God's telling you, because what God is telling you is that's the truth. If you want to move towards truth and stop running from fear, you have to move towards truth. But you have to move towards where God is telling you to go, where your heart is designed, where your true higher self. Remember, he said higher self, where that's leading you. You have to follow that. Oh, sorry, I think I cut out there. That's going to take you to where you want to go. That's going to take you to true happiness and peace. But you got to take the leap of faith. And so, uh, and lastly, guys, a verse that I've played on the show before, and I was reading First Peter chapter 5 last night before I went to bed. And I'll be honest, guys. Yesterday, the last couple of days, if I seemed like I was off recently on this show, maybe if like last week and this week, it's because I was kind of under the weather a little bit. I'm doing a lot better now. I'm fine, but um, I'm still going through it my own journey, guys. And I have good days and I have highs and lows sometimes. But what I do now to try to keep me neutral and complete is a lot of things I share in the show, what Dennis has said, but also scripture and being more. That's what's most important. A really strong prayer life, a really strong scripture life. It's not something in the past I didn't do as much as I should have, and that's why I kept almost hitting rock bottom all the time. I just relapse. I get really good and I get really down. I didn't have the consistency within me. And when I finally gave it all over to God and allowing Him to show me what to do, doesn't mean it's easy. Trust me, you have days where it's like Kobe said in that video I posted him talk about yesterday, and he said in an interview before, it just feels like days are just endless. Like, and you just start to wonder, like, when is this time going to end? Like, when am I ever going to get to what I want? When am I going to have what I want? When am I going to get the answers? When am I going to, when, and why? And it's normal to do that. We're human at the end of the day, so we have flesh within us. And so, uh, but to overrule the flesh, like it says in the scripture, use the word of God, use the armor of God to push back against that. And the more you do that, it's like when we talk about anxiety, the more you listen to your higher self, because they're both connected, the more you hit that fear with truth, it puts a crack in that foundation of fear, and it collapses, and God creases in more and completely takes over, and He delivers you. And if you don't believe me, it says it right here. And then this is a verse that I've lived by. 1 Peter 5:10. After you have suffered for a little while, the God of all grace, who imparts His blessing and favor, who called you to His own eternal glory in Christ, will Himself complete, confirm, strengthen, and establish you, making you what you ought to be. Uh, that's everything right there. And this is where, like I said, take the leap of faith and have trust in the patience. Trust in the patience for me, looking at that verse right there. I may have suffered for a little while. Now I may still have some days where I'm not as some good days, some bad days, but I stay neutral in between because I know where I'm heading. Like it says there at the end, He will complete, confirm, strengthen, and establish me, and make me what I ought to be. And that's your hope. And so, whew, that was a lot. Today's show and yesterday's show. Please leave a comment below of what you guys think about this, about how you. Please leave a comment. Like, I really want to hear your guys' feedback, or message me privately if you have before. If you can find me below, or if we talked before on, hit me up and let me know kind of I want to hear you guys' feedback. How does this relate to you? What did you take away from this that really helped you or stood out to you? Is this something you've gone through? Is there something you'd like to add to this? I mean, let me know. I want to hear your guys' feedback. That's something we don't do enough. We don't talk anymore. We're afraid to show our true selves to people and just be honest with people, and because we're afraid of what people may think. We're afraid of their response, and you're running from fear. Well, let's move towards truth. And sometimes moving towards truth also is just talking to somebody and just say something, let it out. Who cares? I don't care. I've done some things recently where I've put myself out to people. I can question myself. Did I say the right things? Did I do the right thing? I can't control that. At the end of the day, as long as I put my heart into it, and as long as I was just myself and I'm fine, I was me. I wasn't, I did the best I could and what I thought was right, where I felt God was leading me to. And that's all that matters. I just let it go to Him. It's in His hands. I can't control everything else. I just got to keep it moving forward. And it's never, again, things aren't ever what we make them out to be in our head. We take things and make them blow them out of proportion. We write movies because it's all based out of fear. And so, again, I know I'm getting a little off track here, but not really. But because it all goes together. That's why I say I want to hear you guys' feedback. Like, not just me, but also don't even have to tell me. Go tell someone else. If you feel like you need help, if you need to tell something, just let it out. Be honest with somebody. Be honest with yourself. Say it out loud. Just let it out. No more suppressing. The more you suppress, the more pain you're going to feel. And so, you do it for yourself, not for anybody else. Do it for you. Do it for you, and pray to the Lord, most importantly, and let Him guide you and lead you. And so, yeah, and like I said yesterday, right here, action breeds confidence. Simple as that, man. Action breeds confidence. So let's take action today, and let's start heading towards the road of inner peace and healing, and getting to our and just be completely free. Allow yourself to be free starting today. And so that's what I challenge you guys, and yeah, appreciate you guys. Love all you guys. Like, subscribe, share this video, yesterday and today's, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here.